You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. Today is Friday, January 12th, the kickoff to the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. I'm happy to be back here with you again. I hope you've got plans to attend an event in honor of this holiday. If not, allow me to invite you to attend the annual parade that comes up in Southeast Washington, D.C. The founder is Denise Rorlock Barnes. She's going to be my guest this week. And she is also the publisher of the Washington Informer newspaper. So she's going to talk to you about what's going on with the parade. But first, we're going to go to our weekly commentator, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Dr. Malveaux is a former president of Bennett College, and we call her emeritus. And also, she was a dean at Cal State Los Angeles. She's a speaker extraordinaire. She works with the youth and Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. And we want to welcome her to the show and ask Dr. Julianne to talk to us about what's going on in politics.
Oh, my. So much to talk about. Well, as you know, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is all over the news. Many Republicans are calling for him to resign or be fired. Why? Mm-hmm. Well, he had a minor surgical procedure on December 22nd. He was out back at home the next day, December 23rd, and apparently nothing was wrong. However, on January 1st, he was rushed to the ICU because complications of that minor surgery basically set in. His staff and the Joint Chiefs of Staff were not informed until January 2nd, the next day. President Biden was not informed until January 4th. People have been very critical about the manner in which the president has been informed, and they're right. Austin or his designee should have reached out to the president, certainly on January 1st or the 2nd, not waiting until the 4th. He remains hospitalized today. As of today, Tuesday, he remains hospitalized, but they say that he's out of intensive care and that he's doing okay. There are a lot of explanations for what happened, when, where, and why. We're not going to get into them because we don't know the man's personal business. But what I do know and what I do feel is that there's a racial element to some of this. And I don't call racism every time I open my mouth, but he's really getting grilled. He's really getting criticized. Several members of Congress actually called for him to be fired. The president has said he's not trying to get rid of Lloyd Austin. He wants him to stay. He will not fire him. He will not discipline him. But Austin has apologized, and he should apologize. And he still hasn't disclosed the nature of his illness, and I'm not sure that he has to. But basically, he's at Walter Reed, which is one of the best places for military person to be, and we look forward to hearing. At least hearing from him, not through these spokespeople, but from him. What I understand about him is he's intensely private. No one knows what the minor procedure was. But what we all know is that this black man is under a lot of scrutiny, and race has at least something to do with it. Now, President Biden was on Monday. He was at Mother Emanuel Church in Columbia, South Carolina. That's a church where the crazy white man went and slaughtered 9 people who invited him to join them in prayer, slaughtered. And he went there to teach, to preach. Ooh, the president was on fire. That's all I have to say. He was introduced by, of course, Congressman Clyburn, Jim Clyburn, and he laid out. He said that Biden needs to break the MAGA wall, M-A-G-A wall, because, you know, there are some people who they've drunk so much of the orange man's Kool-Aid that they're turning orange themselves. So they said he needs to break that wall, and Biden laid out what he was going to do, what he has done and what he's going to do. So he talks about what he said. My favorite line was, he said, Republicans are trying to steal, first they tried to steal an election, now they're trying to steal history. That was a great line. But he was at the top of his game. He was very good. Nobody could say anything. It's interesting that last week the orange man was trying to make fun of President Biden because he stutters, but there was no stuttering in this speech. There was no stutter whatsoever. The man was born with a stutter. So it's mean to make fun of him because he occasionally drops a word or two. In any case, the downside of this whole thing was that some pro-Palestinians interrupted his speech, shouting, "Ceasefire now." He was very poised, though. It was very good. He didn't say anything. At one time, he said, "I hear you." The congregation then shouted them out, 4 more years, 4 more years, 4 more years. So it was a great, he is clearly in campaign mode, and I just hope he keeps it up, the same kind of energy and vigor that he had then. He left Columbia, South Carolina, headed to Dallas for the funeral services of Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, who died last week. And she was a strong ally, strong Democrat, amazing woman. I had the pleasure of working with her on a couple of occasions. Really just an amazing woman, and really appreciate her work and her record. One of the ugly underbellies of the story is not anything about her. When she died in a hospital that was not serving her well. She had to call her son because the nurses would not change her. The state of our health care, especially towards our elders, Lyndia, when I say our elders, we talk about us. But
that's right.
It's horrible for this woman who was a nurse to have been neglected on her deathbed. But in any case, I saw the whole Congressional Black Caucus, not the whole, but many members of the Congressional Black Caucus were there, including former members like G.K. Butterfield and others. So it was a nice turnout for her, and may she rest in power. She was a powerful sister. Now, moving on, let's see here. So the Republican debate will take place on Wednesday, and Nikki Haley is currently outpacing the Satan in the New Hampshire polls. The only two that will be on this debate will be Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, governors respectively of South Carolina, former governor of South Carolina, governor of Florida. Nikki Haley has not overcome her slavery gaffe. Many people are still referring to it. What happened to the Civil War? Why was the Civil War? She said slavery. No, she didn't say slavery. She said everything but slavery. Then she came back a couple of days later and said slavery. Then she came back a day later and said she had black friends. Well, now doesn't every racist say, "I have black friends"? Isn't that interesting?
That's right.
Oh, but I have black friends. So we need. She's becoming very popular on the Republican side. Many people who support the Orange Man have her as their second choice. I have moderate friends who, black and white, who like her. I like her energy, but I don't like her positions. I wouldn't vote for her if you put a gun to my head. But the whole point there is don't get it twisted. Don't get excited about this energetic woman. Who shilly shouts. She changes her positions depending on the audience that she's talking to. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the debate on Wednesday. Now, today, Tuesday, 3 D.C. judges, there's a D.C. Court of Appeal, heard arguments about whether former presidents are immune from prosecution. They're listening, this is a Trump case, and from their questions, I listened to part of their conversation, from their questions, they ain't buying it. What he did on January 6th was treasonous, and he should be tried for it. And it looks like this D.C. Court of Appeals is leading in that direction. Now, we don't know. They're going to take a couple of days to rule, and the Orange Man's people have said they want a speedy ruling, so if they turn him down, they can go to the Supreme Court. So, it just, as I said, it just seems like right now they're not really feeling his arguments. And as I'm listening, I'm like, what? His lawyer said, well, maybe there's double jeopardy because he was already impeached. No. That was before this happened.
That's
so
right.
In any case, what we see is a situation where, excuse me, the former president is in trouble. He was there. He didn't have to be there, but he was there. And when he came out of the hearing, which ended about noontime today, Tuesday, he came out and talked about if they filed against him, it will create chaos. But I'll agree with one thing Nikki Haley has said in her campaign. he creates chaos wherever he goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not unusual for him to create chaos. So I don't want to hear about him in chaos. But anyway, that's what he said. If they did this, they would create chaos. Of course, we still have 2 states that will not allow him on the ballot, and we have lots of impassioned people who want him on the ballot. So there, from that perspective, there's quite a little bit going on. Now, finally, it's really, I have to fly on Thursday, and with these planes, doors falling off the planes, you kind of just really don't know.
My goodness.
The Boeing 737, they've had 2 incidents in the last 2 weeks with the Boeing 737, one in Alaska Airways where they had to make an emergency landing. The velocity was such that the door fell off the plane. The people they're finding across, it was a Portland, Oregon to, I believe, LA, I'm not sure. But anyway, they're finding people's cell phones that fell out the plane. They found somebody's shirt. The wind was so heavy and the velocity so quick that the man's shirt was pulled off of him. And we don't know how much else. So we have to, when people talk about government spending, the FAA, Federal Airlines Association, regulates this. Pete Buttigieg, they report to Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation, who regulates this. When people start talking about cutting funds for regulation, what they're saying is that you're not paying attention. United Airlines has found loose hinges on almost 100 planes for the same 737. And, United is my airline, say it like that. They've had to cancel more than 500 flights since the Air Alaska situation occurred. And this is going to cause chaos in the air. So people just say, if you're traveling, and for those of us who speak, it's Dr. King's birthday, Black History Month, fasten your seatbelt, see if you can avoid a 737. So
I know that's right. Mm-hmm.
That's it for me today, Lyndia. It's been a lot going on. Like I said, I could say more, but I'll leave it there.
All right, we got to save some time for Denise. But you know what I want to say about this flight business? I usually like sitting in the seat with the emergency row, but I don't want that seat anymore.
No, that's the seat.
Exit seat, yeah. Exit row.
There was nobody sitting at the aisle. There was someone sitting in the middle. And no one was sitting at the window.
Okay.
If they had been sitting there, they might have been sucked out of the plane. We're just very, very fortunate that not many bad things happened. I mean, there were some injuries. We didn't record a death with that.
But not what it could have. Not what it could have been. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Julian. We'll talk to you again next week, and safe travel.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
And we are back. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show here on WYCB Spirit 1340. We are talking about Dr. Martin Luther King holiday weekend. And I'm getting ready to talk to my guest. The parade is going to begin from Good Hope Road near the Anacostia Park entrance at Southeast Washington, D.C., and continue along Martin Luther King Avenue to Berry Farms Recreation Center. And if this route is incorrect, Denise will get you straight. But anyway, across the nation and the world, Dr. King's life and legacy is commemorated by a day of service and promoted as a day on and not a day off. The Martin Luther King Jr. Parade symbolizes the need to continue Dr. King's work and reinforce the idea reflected in his words. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. The tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. Those who believe in Dr. King's message are considered the members of the Coalition for Peace and are invited to join the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Parade every year. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today the founder of the 18th, she'll tell me whether I'm right or not, but I think it's the 18th annual Martin Luther King Holiday Parade. And I'm not going to ask her questions. I'm going to let her tell you about all of the details. She is Denise Rolock Barnes. I'm getting ready to call you doctor like so many other people do. Denise Rolock Barnes, the publisher of the Washington Informer newspaper, my friend who has had me writing the Religion Corner now for 18 years. So it's really around the time she started with the parade. So we are so happy to have her here today. She's extremely busy, so I'm thankful that she's going to tell you listeners how you can get involved with the Martin Luther King, because today is Friday, January the 12th, and this is the kickoff, the weekend that all of these activities will take place. Denise Rolock, go right ahead.
Lyndia, thank you so much for having me with you today and to talk about this event. I'll correct some of the details, but I think the spirit is still there, and we are really honored and excited. The Martin Luther King Holiday DC Committee is really excited about what we have planned. That's already started this week. It started last night, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. But, to be able to honor the life and legacy of Dr. King and doing it through service and events and celebrations, and also, just honoring people in our community who live a life that reflects the spirit of Dr. King. So, interestingly enough, you just do things every year and you forget, dates and times and all that. Mm-hmm. But this year marks the 45th anniversary of the Martin Luther King Parade. Now,
is that right?
Can you believe it? 45 years.
No.
We missed a couple, but the first parade, which was established in January 15, 1979, I looked at the history today,
was organized by my late father, Dr. Calvin Rolark, my stepmother, Wilhelmina Rolark, Wilhelmina Jackson Rolark, who, served on the D.C. City Council for 16 years, and Petey Green.
Okay.
Yeah, for people who don't remember that name, if you ever get a chance to see the film on Petey Green, he was played by Don Cheadle and some others, but it was a great film about his life and legacy as a radio talk show host and also a community activist. So the three of them got together before the holiday and established this parade in honor of Dr. King. Mrs. Rolark was also instrumental in getting, I can't even remember the name of the street, but to get the avenue that's named after Dr. King, she was responsible for getting the street renamed in his honor, which also intersects with Malcolm X Avenue over here in Southeast in Ward 8. So the parade went on for many years, and it was managed that came out of the council member's office. So we missed a couple of years, but a group of us got together, myself, a guy named Yango Sawyer, and Keith Silver, to relaunch this annual event, but we did it in the form of a peace walk. And so the peace walk is now in its 19th year. The parade itself is probably now in its 16th year, so we just call it 19 years. So it will be held on Monday, again, January 15th, the actual birthday of Dr. King, but it's also the national holiday. And so it looks like it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So the purpose of the parade is not only to honor the life and legacy of Dr. King, but also to really engage young people throughout Ward 8 and across the city in celebrating in their way a man who they never knew and sadly enough are hearing so little about, but to remind them of who he was and what he fought for and why he was killed in that fight. So, yeah, it will be held on Monday, January 15th. We're actually going in the opposite direction that you mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah. We're starting at the campus.
What time?
We start with the parade itself will start at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
The peace walk will start at 10:45, and it's going to start at Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, where the what's called Shepherd Park. And so the peace walk will begin. The rally will start at 10, and then they'll step off at 10:45. They'll proceed down Martin Luther King Avenue towards St. Elizabeth's. When they pass the entrance of St. Elizabeth's on Martin Luther King, the parade will follow out behind them at 11 o'clock a.m. on Monday, January the 15th. And we'll proceed all the way down Martin Luther King Avenue into Anacostia and in now what is called Marion Barry Avenue, which was Good Hope Road, but we'll turn left there on Marion Barry Avenue and proceed into Anacostia Park, where the parade will end. So we anticipate the parade lasting from 11 until about 1:30. And the parade route is easily accessible by the Anacostia Metro Station. And we're inviting everybody to come out, especially, those who are not in the parade. You always have a large crowd of those who are, but those, the community to come on out and celebrate and cheer on a lot of these young folks. We have an amazing group of folks that are going to participate this year. We're expecting, I say young folks, but we're expecting 250 members of the Masons, the Grand, the Masons, the organization, Prince Hall Masons. Yeah, thank you. Along with members of the Eastern Star, we've got, I could give you a list of groups, but we've got school bands from D.C. We've got about 17 or 18 school bands from as far away as Norfolk. Oh, my goodness,
that's so exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, from as far away from Norfolk, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, Baltimore coming to participate, and of course our local Ballou High School, Eastern High School, Anacostia will be participating, and a lot of the middle schools and elementary school bands will be participating. We've got the Coast Guard, of course, military folks who will be joining us in ceremonial ways as well. And then just loads and loads of community organizations who we believe, are those organizations we keep saying, where are they in the midst of all of the trials and tribulations we're going through in our city, but you'll get a chance to see them and know that they are very active and engaged in trying to make this the best city that it's supposed to be or could be in Washington, D.C. So that's, that's the parade. That's happening on that day, but we've got, we've got a whole week of activities, as I said, that started last night. I went to an event tonight. I strongly encourage people, if you haven't seen it, you should check out the film, The Children's March. It's only about 45 minutes long. It's on YouTube, and it's a real informative story of the children who really were the spark behind the civil rights movement in Birmingham, Alabama. And I would encourage everybody to just look up that film, The Children's March, and, bring your young people around to show that this whole fight for civil rights wasn't always the grown folks. Dr. King couldn't always get grown folks to come out and support him. A lot of people didn't.
That's
but
right.
The children understood their role, and they were actually protecting their parents by participating in these civil rights activities. We know the schools, the lunch counter sit-ins, which were college students. So that was this evening. We had a screening down at Busboys and Poets on Martin Luther King Avenue. And then, what else can I say? We've got people say that young folks don't like to write. The Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute sponsored the annual, I think this is their 5th or 6th year, sponsoring an essay contest. They received over 120 essays from local elementary, junior high, and high school students on the theme, our holiday theme, which is bending towards peace, truth, and justice. So, and a lot of them have a lot to say about, what's happening in the city and what they would love to see happen that really helps to improve the quality of life. So we're going to have a event awards program for them at the Martin Luther King Library on Saturday at 2:00, and that's open to the public to just come and celebrate the work of these young folks. And actually this has sparked a movement among us to figure out how we can get youth leaders from all across the city to really come together more often to talk about solutions to the problems that we think young people are causing, and it's not just them, but they have concerns. And so it should be a great afternoon, and we're doing a prayer breakfast on Saturday morning. It's sold out, so I won't talk much about that.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the flyer at Matthews Memorial. I was going to get a ticket, but they sold out.
Yeah, well, we can talk, but if you still want to come.
Okay.
But, our guest speaker is a 16-year-old preacher.
Oh, wow.
And I've heard so much about him and how, just how dynamic and called he is. And so I look forward to hearing him. And it's a youth-oriented program, and we're expecting to have a lot of young people to show up to that as well. So we are really, really focused on making sure that young people not only come and see, but also participate as we continue organizing around Dr. King's birthday.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time, Denise, but I think you got most of it in. Tell them a website they could go to, or give them a phone number they can call in case people have questions.
Yeah, well, everyone, you can get all of that information and more, because we're also a clearinghouse for any other MLK events that have been shared with us. you can visit mlkholidaydc.org. Again, it's mlkholidaydc.org. That's our official website. Everything that I talked about is on the website and more. And if you have any questions, you can reach us at, you can call our office at 202-561-4100. And then 202-561-4100.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Denise. That was a lot of great information. I only have a 30-minute show. I'm so sorry, but
that's okay. I'm glad to get 2 minutes of it, so that's great.
Yeah, you got a lot in. Thank you so much for being my guest today. And now I'm out of town, so I'm going to have to go to my close. I want to say thank you to listeners for tuning in. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Also, next week, we're going to have another exciting guest. I hope you'll come out and join the Martin Luther King Parade coming up on Monday for Martin Luther King holiday. And I always close with this. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Good evening, Radio 1 listeners. I'm Dr. Gwendolyn Taylor, music coordinator at the All Nations Baptist Church, where the pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman, located right here in Washington, D.C. at number 2 Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast Washington, D.C. It is my pleasure to invite you all out to our Family, Friends, and Community Day. The service will be held on Sunday, January 21st, 2024, beginning at 10 a.m. There will be good singing, liturgical dancers. We will have an exciting panel discussions on topics relating to families, friends, and the community. Then we will have our worship service. Bring your entire family. Invite your co-workers or neighbors. It's Family, Friends, and Community Day. We will see you on January 21st at 10 a.m. All Nations Baptist Church, number 2 Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast Washington, D.C. Call at 202-832-9591. We'll see you there.
Thank you for listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.